What is going on, guys? It's Bound here, and today I'm going to be talking about Encore. So Encore, as you may know, is the best move in Generation 9 single battles, Battle Stadium singles, but Encore has always been a move in in Pokemon in general. It's been gold, silver, so Generation 2. It's been existing since then, but it's just been slightly changed. So it used to be 3 to 6 turns where you lock the opponent into a move. Now in Generation 9, it's guaranteed 3 turns. So because it's less turns, how could it still be really good? But just the concept of the move in general, locking the opponent into any move is really strong. You can combine this move with Terrestrialization, which is the current generational gimmick in Generation 9, and all these mechanics can combine to make Encore just very strong. But that's not the main reason why Encore is a huge threat in this generation. The main reason is because of the Pokemon that got access to Encore. So in Generation 9, Encore became a TM. In Generation 8, however, Encore was a TR, which, Generation 8, they had TRs and TMs. But TRs, Encore did have, the strong Pokemon, good Pokemon had Encore and it gave them a role, but it didn't, push any Pokemon over the edge, except for, obviously, the, Cataract Shadow, which we'll get into in Scarlet and Violet, but also Dynamax Pokemon were immune to Encore. That was the balance out, but Encore in Generation 9 obviously has, there's no way to immune it, unless, there's pretty much no way. And combined with that, like I said, the Pokemon that got Encore are just very strong. So I'm going to be going through them and talking about the impact that they've had on the metagame. The first one I talk about is Annihilate. Now, Annihilate is obviously, a big threat in certain metagames, but it didn't really use Encore that much. However, it could catch you off guard with Encore, and that could be because Encore in general is just better in 3v3 situations because since it pretty much forces a switch once you get the Encore. That means that the opponent is because compared to 6v6, if you get an Encore, your opponent has 5 Pokemon to cover for the switch, whereas in 3v3 your opponent only has 2 options to cover for the switch, or switch into from the Encore, and so it just makes it that much stronger in terms of threatening a switch out and all that, threatening damage on whatever's in the back. So that's something to keep in mind. Annihilate is a decently fast Pokemon, so Encore is pretty good. Encore usually performs better when the Pokemon is faster than the opponent, because then you can just react to the opponent's option and all that, and just Encore him. And that's why Cataract Shadow, which is the next one, I mean, a lot of these Pokemon are not strong, so it's not going to be, Encore won't be as effective. But when you have a Pokemon like Cataract Shadow using Encore with the highest speed in the game, so able to react to many situations, and with the highest special attack stat, you're going to be struggling to even come back after you get an Encore, because they can either threaten a switch with a strong move or nasty plot in your face and just threaten anything anyway. It's kind of crazy how this thing just gets access to Encore, because that could just end the game right there. If you get a bad turn, or if you KO the previous Pokemon with the fighting move, they can come in and you guess they don't have Encore, they Encore you or something. That's pretty much, that could be game over potentially. And even the best players get loose to this. It's just a universally just broken, really good strategies, Same with Cataract Ice, it's a different kind of situation, but some of them do want Encore, and it can definitely catch you off guard and cause the match to swing in the opponent's favor. And obviously, Dragonite. So Dragonite's the next one I'm going to talk about. Dragonite did not have access to Encore in previous generations, and so it getting access to Encore now really changed the game a lot, because obviously Dragonite has been the top Pokemon in a lot of regulations so far, mainly just because it's really hard to guess, and also just has it has so much versatility. Encore, Roost, Thunder Wave, Encore, Roost, Thunder Wave, Scale Shot, Fire Spin sets, Terra Nova Extreme Speed, Choice Band, Dragon Dance sets. It's crazy how much sets Dragonite can run, and Encore being added to the mix is just not really it's not, it's crazy. It's really not fun to deal with. because you're constantly guessing, especially since Dragonite has the ability to raise its speed and have the Encore. That's even more powerful because then you can avoid just come on top of a lot more situations like that. So Gardevoir and Gengar did have some decent threats in the first regulation A. I did see some Gengars with like Encore and Destiny Bond. You could trap the opponent by Destiny Bonding, and then if they don't fall for the Destiny Bond and use like a status move, you just Encore that, and it causes like this trapping situation. But Gengar could only find that role in Regulation A because that was before, Paradox Pokemon like Flutter Mane, Roaring Moon, which kind of destroyed it. So yeah. And then you got, Hawlucha did see some use with Encore, with Swords Dance, Encore, Unburden. Especially with Miraidon, like in Regulation G, even Regulation I, like Hawlucha's Swords Dance plus Encore, like if you KO the Miraidon with an Earthquake and then Hawlucha comes in, then they get an Encore, and then it's just Swords Dance. But the thing is, it's kind of obvious now, like I did get kind of destroyed by this, I'm not gonna lie. Like when I first fought Hawlucha in Regulation G, the Miraidon plus Hawlucha combo, I kind of fell for it. But yeah, once you see it again, you kind of know how to deal with it. But like that's more obvious compared to Dragonite or Calyrex Shadow or Calyrex Ice, because like it's hard they're hard to switch into. Hawlucha is not that hard to switch into. It is pretty hard, but especially since it has like close combat, Brave Bird, strong hitting moves and all that. But the attack stat isn't that high, so it does make it easier to switch into. The next one is Iron Bundle. So Iron Bundle was a pretty big threat in Regulation B, Regulation C, and Regulation D, pretty much. I guess it was a pretty big threat in all those, yeah. Just because of the speed and being able to run booster energy. Like, so a lot of the Iron Bundles in 3v3, so if we click Bundle, I think, yeah. So, yeah, basically, a lot of them would run, so a good amount of Iron Bundles would run booster energy with like Substitute, Encore, and then 2 stab moves, Freeze Dry, and Hydro Pump. And this made it so that Iron Bundle can just guarantee, like, set up a situation for the third Pokemon in the back, or either just, go sweep. It had a lot of usability, it had a lot of versatility, just in the ways that it could be played. Substitute was a really easy way to scout a move and then Encore no matter what. Like if for example, if you have a Dragonite in the back, you substitute, they just do like, a Chi-Yu, like for example, if you're facing a Chi-Yu, that they do Flamethrower, you Encore the Flamethrower anyway, like regardless of, you don't want to, let's say you don't want to like worry about hitting Hydro Pump, you Encore and then Dragonite comes in and Dragon Dances for free because, it's resisting Flamethrower and all that. So that's like, Iron Bundle's just so good at setting up these situations, and not even a Choice Scarf can outspeed it because of the booster energy. It also got, Focus Sash sets with Encore was still threatening as well, just because, it had a guaranteed way to act. So, getting Encore by this Pokemon isn't really fun as well because, the stab moves, the unresisted stab combination is kind of hard to deal with when you're trying to switch into that. That's all this, and that's the thing about Calyrex Shadow and Iron Bundle, they're special attackers, so Assault Vest attackers that don't have to risk getting Encored into a status move, like getting locked out is the preferred counterplay here. But that's just one way, like there's many ways to do it. So it just comes with experience. And so Iron Valiant, same kind of situation, boost energy, Encore, but it's not as fast as Bundle. So that's the thing. And also Valiant is just very versatile in general, like it gets all these options. Kind of like Gengar, where you have Destiny Bond as well. You have Destiny Bond Encore combination, where you can force a lockout depending on what the opponent does. And you're once you get Encore, you're forced to switch into a very strong stab combination, which is pretty much only resisted by poison. So, and Magearna is crazy. Like Magearna is not in the game, like it's not usable in ranked, but this with Encore can be very threatening, especially against tanks. That's why tanks are, a liability in Generation 9, because Encore can just lock them out because they rely on recover, they rely on some of the status moves, and Encore can just catch that. And then if you get Encored into recover, and then they swords. Like if you're dealing with an Encore Pokemon with this boosting move, that can be very bad. Especially like like I said, Encore plus Dragonite, which has seen a lot of use, a ton of use. So yeah, and the next major Pokemon is Alolan Ninetales with Encore. Now, obviously, this has been fairly obvious to point out because a lot of Alolan Ninetales just ran Encore, like a whole large percentage of them. It's just a support Pokemon, and it gets Aurora Veil, gets Encore, gets sometimes gets Misty Terrain, all these support moves, even disable. Yeah, so Encore kind of brought this Pokemon back into the forefront in like Regulation E, Regulation F. Or no, I don't think it was in Regulation E. No, I don't remember. I think it was only Regulation F. But yeah, very strong Pokemon. No, it wasn't Regulation E. That's right. But yeah. So yeah, Encore just enabled this. I think it got Encore in previous generations, but obviously with the previous generation, Generation 8, you can't Encore Dynamax Pokemon, so obviously the move gets less value, but you can still get Aurora Veil up. And yeah, I don't even remember if this thing was in Generation 8. Let me see. I click on this, scroll down. Okay, it was, but yeah, I got Encore, but yeah, obviously it gets more value this generation, especially since it's so fast. 109 speed is relatively fast in this game. Obviously, it's getting slower and slower as generations pass, with the 135 thing being established with Chien-Pao and Fluttermane and Baridon, Koraidon, all that. But yeah, still very strong option. So yeah, very strong against Chien-Pao as well, this Pokemon in general. But yeah. The next Pokemon is Ogerpon, right? So Ogerpon, all the forms get Encore. And this Pokemon, yeah, very strong Pokemon. It especially gets like tanky Pokemon because they get access to Sword Dance as well. So Encore plus Sword Dance sets are very common on this Pokemon. Also Encore plus Leech Seed plus Substitute, that could be very annoying to deal with. Like Encore Synthesis as well, so it can like stay on the field. So yeah, this thing has a lot of options with Encore, and it can be very bad if you get Encore in a bad situation. Especially since these Pokemon have the ability to Terra, like, and deal massive amounts of damage. Like, if their masked Terras, basically, give them massive amounts of damage output on their Ivy Cudgel, which, yeah, makes it very hard to, switch into a bad situation, like, if you get Encore. So, yeah. Very strong Pokemon, especially the fire one. Cannot be understated how strong that thing is. Because of the Mold Breaker effect, you can get Encores, you can get Swords Dances, break through those unaware Pokemon. And yeah, just the move is just so good. Like, it enables so much stuff. But yeah, I did use Palmot with Encore in Regulation H. I feel like that was the only regulation where that set was viable, and Palmot was actually a threat because of that. Mainly because of that electric. The fighting was really good as well, so that was pretty fun. Primarina getting Encore is pretty good, but in the current metagame Regulation I, it does see usage, but that's mainly, for the support. It doesn't really run Encore as a support move that much anymore. It runs like you can run Perish Song, you can run Misty Terrain. I've seen Misty Terrain once to like deal with just prevent Yawn for like a restricted legendary to come in and just set up. But yeah, things like that. Primarina has other options, and those options are preferred over Encore. Quaquaval, how you ever say that, did actually get a lot of Encore play, especially in the first rule set. Like, I believe in the first season, a player got finished second place with Quaquaval. So you see, this was a Rocky helmet. It had like Aqua Step with 3 support moves like Encore, Sub, and Roost. It was like a support Quaquaval. So yeah, it pointed out just how strong Encore is in general. Because yeah, like when you least expect the Encore coming out, that can just sway the match, and that's the really important takeaway here. So yeah, Samurai didn't really see too much Encore usage. Did see some in Regulation H, but the speed isn't. You can't make use of the speed that well. Quaquaval is a different story. It has the same speed, but it gets Aqua Step, so can actually keep up with certain situations and all that. But this thing does do a lot of damage, so you can threaten switches once it does get the Encore, especially with sharpness as well. So yeah. Skeletor's getting Encore is pretty interesting. Didn't really see too much usage of Encore on this. Uh, just because of, its better roles, I guess. Just swapping sweepers, with Yawn, Unaware, Will-O-Wisp as well. So it just has different options. But there's different Skeletors out there depending on the team that can run Encore. Like, for example, you know, I've seen Substitute plus Encore Skeletors before. Like it can see some use, especially with that Torch Song. It can like enable different like rolls with it, like even like a stall breaking set. Like this thing can break through a Blissey, because like if you get Unaware, because the Blissey can't call mine, and then you can just spam Sword Power or spam Torch Song behind a Substitute, and then you're just sweeping through the that team, like a bulky team, for example. That's a use I've seen. Ticketon Ticketon was a pretty big threat in like several regulations, like especially with that Encore. Encore kind of put this Pokemon into the limelight, I believe, because like it does get Thunder Wave, Knockoff, Stealth Rock, Swords Dance with Gigaton Hammer, and it does have Mold Breaker, so that kind of makes Encore even better, especially since Golden Go is normally immune to Encore, but Ticketon doesn't really care because of the Mold Breaker. And similar thing with the Ogerpon Fire, has Mold Breaker with Encore, so you can Encore Goldingo. So this thing, later on, once it was released in Regulation E, Encore became this thing became the Goldingo control. You can just Encore anything it does, and then just threaten the opponent, like switch in, which kind of funny. Like a lot of Goldingos were paired with Dragonite, so it would always bring that Dragonite in, and then that's where the Leech Seed comes out. So that's where that Pokemon really excelled in like forcing those situations, right? And yeah, a lot of these Pokemon don't really, aren't really at the top of the metagame, so Encore doesn't really benefit that much. But yeah, I guess Palafin did see some Encore usage in the very first regulation. I do remember getting destroyed by like an Encore bulk up one, but that was kind of unfortunate. That kind of sucked, but yeah. Good. The strong Pokemon, basically what I'm trying to say is the strong Pokemon really pushed Encore over the edge, and obviously with Terastallization being the main mechanic and not Dynamax, Encore gets guaranteed, use. You can actually get Encores off without worrying about anything. And yeah, that's pretty much the message. In terms of counterplaying the Encore, the best thing you can do really is just, be careful about using Pokemon that are slower, right? Like, you can use Pokemon that are slower, but you want to have, some awareness. Like, if you're using like a tank, like for example, like Garganacl, right? Like the rock thing, right? You have to be careful about when you use All Cure, when you use Recover, when you can use Protect the Scout for, Encore and all that. That's why Protect has seen a lot of use. I mean, I guess because of all the stalling and toxic, but it's good for scouting. And only problem with Protect is that you can get Encore into Protect, but in the right situations, if you're faster, you can scout for it. Just being faster helps against these Encore Pokemon, and that's why Cataract Shadow is such a big threat, because it's just really hard to do with Encore, especially since we're in a dual legendary format now with Regulation I. This thing can just Encore and set up for another restricted legendary to come out after and start setting up, which is kind of scary to think about, but that's just what it's just what this stat spread enables. Like 150 speed, it's way too fast, and that's why a lot of people are just like, it's a lot of and uncertain, like there's a lot of uncertainty out there, but that's pretty much the message I want to get out there. So we'll see what happens in the next Pokemon games. I'm guessing Pokemon Champions is gonna have Encore, like all the same, because Pokemon Champions I feel like I'm pretty sure it's considered Generation 9. It's not Generation 10, so Encore won't, Encore will probably be like available on the same Pokemon depending if they're actually in the game or not. But I'm really hoping they don't increase any more accessibility, just because it's a move that I feel like is only allowed to, or should be only on certain Pokemon. Like, not Dragonite, not Calyrex, not Ogerpon, I guess Pokemon is different because we need those stall breakers as well. Because Generation 9 really bought some crazy stall Pokemon, like with triple unaware, you know, Garganical, you know, like it's crazy. Um, but yeah, uh, I feel like Sun and Moon had the best Encore Learn set. Like you still had cool Pokemon that you know were able to gain some traction with Encore and all that. Like you know, like I said with the Ninetales, the Primarina. So you know, it was a niche move, and that's how it should be. I feel like, but Encore being the front facing move of a metagame, I don't think is really that good. Especially combined with Terastization, that combination can just make it really unforgiving. Like you can just randomly lose, like unexpectedly, which kind of sucks. But yeah, that's just kind of how it is. But I'm just bringing some awareness to it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one.